I remember years ago, a reporter interviewed me, and he began the interview by saying very seriously, "So, Cindy, why do you think it is that we like to watch people having sex?" And honestly, I just burst out laughing. I rolled around the floor in hysterics going, "Of course we like to watch people having sex. We're all sexual beings."
Take control of your life. Break the chains and rise. No more feeling powerless. No more shame. Take your power. Break out of the pain. Because it's more than fornication. More than procreation. It's not just self-stimulation. Sex energy is for creation and transformation into a new destination.
This is Porn Talk.
Porn Talk. Yeah. Change your heart from dark to light. Porn Talk. Yeah. Break free. Take back your power and rise. I said take back your power. I said take back your power. Take back your power and rise.
This is Porn Talk.
Welcome back to Porn Talk. This is Powerful Eric. This week we have back with us Cindy Gallop. She is the founder of Make Love, Not Porn. This is part 2 of the interview. Let's get right to it. What were the 2 issues that you found when you were dating the younger men? What were the 2 issues that kept coming up?
The first is, the reason I pioneered the concept of sexual values with Make Love Not Porn, because what our social sex videos do is they role model good sexual values and good sexual behavior, is because, and I've had this conversation with various people over the years, people go, "Oh, but Cindy, if you're somebody who already has good values, those naturally translate into the bedroom." No, they don't. I am very selective about the younger men I date. No matter how casual the relationship, I've one fundamental criterion, which is that they have to be a very nice person. I have amazing radar for very nice people. I only date utterly lovely younger men. And nevertheless, in the bedroom, I see them modeling the body language that goes, "My dick is the center of the universe." Because that's what male lens porn has caused them to internalize. No, we have to talk about sexual values because good values outside the bedroom do not translate into good values and behavior inside. Then the other thing I would say is, I said to you earlier that Make Love Not Porn is an accident. But what is no accident is that my background is 37 years working in advertising. I've spent 37 years working in the business of communication. I know, therefore, that everything great in life and business is born out of great communication. Sex is no different. Great sex is born out of great communication. And again, I find it astonishing how, I date lovely younger men. Some of them are very attractive. They've had a ton of previous sexual partners. And it becomes immediately apparent in bed with me that they have never, ever talked during sex, ever. Because I will communicate what I want to do, what pleases me. I will ask about, and honestly, it's astonishing how many young men, have literally never ever had a conversation in bed about all of that. Gobsmacking.
Yeah.
And so, again, that is why, as I said, Make Love Not Porn's entire mission is to make it easier to talk about sex, and why, couples watch our videos together and they tell us, oh my God, the conversational breakthroughs that ensue. Again, because we've normalized it. So one couple wrote and said, when we watch Make Love Not Porn videos, it's as easy to talk about what we're watching as it is about what we see on TV or Netflix. And then it's just a step from there to then having conversational breakthroughs about our own relationship and our own sex life. But everything we do is designed to socialize sex.
Yeah. Still, what were, I don't think you quite got to it. What were the, like when you were dating the younger guys, what were the issues that kept coming up over and over? that made you?
Simply, porn-influenced behavior, basically. And actually, Eric, if you go to the homepage of makelovenotporn.tv, we have there, the original slides that were the original makelovenotporn.com site, Porn World versus Real World. So, those slides say things like, Porn World, all men love coming on women's faces, all women love having their faces come on. Okay, Real World, some people like this, some people don't. It's entirely up to personal choice, but the issue is talk about it before you do it. Porn World, women have no hair down there. Real World, again, some women like to shave, some women don't. Some men like, shaved, waxed vagina vulvas. Some men actually are very fond of au naturel. And again, it's absolutely a matter of personal choice. And so it's all stuff like that,
Yeah. What are good sexual values?
They're the ones I listed out just now. And by the way, the list is not exhaustive because these are mine, but
Sure.
empathy, sensitivity, generosity, kindness, honesty, trust, respect.
Trust and respect. And that is one of the reasons why I contacted you, because you were talking about one of your resources about a guy that watched a video and somebody said, I love you. The husband or the wife or the partner said, I love you to the other person. And that person started to cry about it because he'd never seen that in a porn video. And of the decades of porn that I've watched, I've never once heard a person say, I love you. And like I said before we officially started the podcast here, that I have never once heard that. And that's really, really sad that it's supposed to be making love. And I've never once heard the words I love you said ever. So.
And on that, Eric, what is interesting is, so I designed Make Love Not Porn to be fully gender equal, diverse, and inclusive. And it is. Our members and our Make Love Not Porn stars are male, female, trans, non-binary, diverse, from all around the world. But what we've discovered over the 10 years that we've been operating as a business is that Make Love Not Porn is especially a revelation to men. We probably get more emails from men than anybody else because we are something utterly unique that men will find nowhere else on the internet, which is a safe space where men can be and watch other men being open, emotional, and vulnerable around sex. You would not believe the number of men who write to us and say, I just watched my first video, Make Love Not Porn, and afterwards I cried. I've been saying for years, Eric, I wish society understood the opposite of what it thinks is true. Women enjoy sex just as much as men, and men are just as romantic as women. Yet neither gender is allowed to openly celebrate that fact, and we'd all be a whole lot better off if they were.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. I've never really said this before. I'm a romantic guy. I am.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we at Make Love Not Porn are one of the solutions to toxic masculinity. And men, as I say, men write us amazing emails, and tell us how we have driven, total self-reflection, a new way of being, and by the way, one of the things that blows me away every day is both how well Make Love Not Porn does what I designed it to do, but also how well it does many things I never designed it to do. So in the Design It to Do camp, we have, we get a ton of emails from couples saying, you saved our relationship, you saved our marriage. And by the way, the interesting thing is, one woman wrote a few months ago and said, this is the best $10 a month I've ever spent. She said, my husband and I have married for 20 years and sex had dwindled to once a month, if that. She said, we discovered Make Love Not Porn. In the last month, we've had sex 8 times. It's fantastic. But the important thing, Eric, is she said, it's not just the sex. She said, we now feel more close, more intimate, more loving than at any time before in our marriage. And she said, thank you for saving our marriage. So that's obviously, what I absolutely had in mind when I designed Make Love Not Porn. But what I never consciously designed it for is we hear from survivors of rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault. We hear from female, male survivors, trans, non-binary survivors, who tell us that Make Love Not Porn helped them reclaim their body. We help them feel able to be sexual again in the wake of this trauma, and where porn is obviously way too triggering in a scenario. And in fact, a number of our contributors, our Make Love Not Porn stars, have told us, by sharing their social sex on Make Love Not Porn, that's enabled them to process their trauma, post-sexual abuse, post-rape, and help them heal, which is amazing and not something I ever consciously thought about when I came up with the concept in the first place. Yeah,
trauma is definitely a big thing. A lot of the people that contact me or I coach have some type of trauma, not all of them, but some certainly. And sexual trauma is a big issue. So if you're able to help in any regard with that's fantastic.
Yep.
What do you say to your critics that say, well, you're just a pornographer?
Nobody said that to me. So, if somebody did, then it's a measure of how messed up we are about sex, Eric. That people go, oh, people having sex on video must be porn. They don't understand the difference between porn it's like Hollywood. It is performative. It's produced, it's scripted, it's, deliberately created to be entertainment. And what we're doing at Make Love Not Porn is we are providing a unique window onto the funny, messy, fabulous, glorious, wonderful sex we all have in the real world. And so in our FAQs on our website, for people who want to become Make Love Not Porn stars, we have many helpful tips about how to make sure that, you set it and forget it. Turn the webcam on, put the phone up or whatever, and then just, do what you always do. And so the great thing about our videos is, you are seeing exactly how sex happens in the real world. So, for example, we had one video where, the couple are having sex. During it, the wife's phone rings. For some bizarre reason, she answers it during sex. It's her mother. Okay, so husband leaves the room. Okay, wife has a conversation with mother, puts the phone down. Oi, you get back in here, and then they resume. That's the real world. We have cats jumping up on beds. We have sex sessions where people are making love. Take a break, get a drink, wander around, get back to it, different part of the house. That's the real world. It's what we're all doing, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Right. What would you say to your critics that would say that you're just making amateur porn?
Again, nobody said that to me, but exactly what I just said to you. Amateur porn is performative. And in fact, by the way, Eric, I have a huge problem with the word amateur. It implies the only people good at sex are the professionals and the rest of us are bottom idiots. Not true. Not true.
Good point. What would you say to somebody that they watch regular porn and they I'm losing my train of thought here. What would you say to somebody that is struggling with, I coach a lot of guys that are addicted to porn. The type of porn that I was raised with was just hardcore porn. There's no story, anything. I wonder how I would be when I was young and discovered all this, that if I had found it via like your website, how, would I have become addicted to porn? I mean, I'm just...
Sure. Well, here's the thing, Eric. Okay, so Make Love Not Porn does not compete with porn. We are the badly needed only real-world counterpoint and complement to porn. So the way to think about it is, if porn is the Hollywood blockbuster movie, Make Love Not Porn is the documentary. People like watching movies, people like watching documentaries, sometimes in the mood for a movie, sometimes in the mood for a documentary. But the important thing is that before Make Love Not Porn, there was no documentary.
Yeah.
And it's entirely natural to want to watch people having sex. I remember years ago, a reporter interviewed me for an article about porn, and he began the interview by saying very seriously, "So, Cindy, why do you think it is that we like to watch people having sex?" And honestly, I just burst out laughing. I rolled around the floor in hysterics going, "Of course we like to watch people having sex. We're all sexual beings. Of course we enjoy." I mean, that isn't an indicator of how ludicrously, messed up we are around this whole topic. But anyways, so as I say, Make Love Not Porn is the counterpoint and complement to porn. You watch porn for fantasy, and we are where you can see how the world is really having sex.
Yeah. Wow. So what would you say to somebody, and I'm just giving you all these counterpoints. What would you say to somebody that is worried about, what if my son or my daughter, let's say they're, 20 years old, and they really weren't into porn, but they start watching your website. I'm afraid that they're going to, progress, meaning like an alcoholic who starts with a beer and then goes to wine to hard alcohol. What if somebody uses Make Love Not Porn and then they want something harder, and then, worried about their child getting addicted to.
So the thing is, Eric, it doesn't work like that. Okay. And I should just make the point that you don't get what Make Love Not Porn is really about until you actually watch our videos. Our videos operate completely differently to porn. So they elicit completely different responses and reactions. It was interesting. I did a podcast a few months back with a couples therapist and a sex educator who teaches students. And she said to me that, she'd basically given her students a project, which was to, study Make Love Not Porn. And they don't do this with porn, by the way. She hasn't got her students studying porn. She said it's really interesting because they all discussed, their experience of the site subsequently. And this also fed into, this was kind of prep work before she interviewed me on her podcast about Make Love Not Porn and what it's all about. And she said, all of us agreed that, when we first went onto the site, we were really nervous about what we're going to see. And she said, the moment we began watching the videos, we could literally feel our body language relaxing.
Yeah.
Tension went out of our shoulders about what we might be about to encounter.
Yeah.
She said it was just a completely different feeling watching, and the kind of language our members use when they write to us to tell us what they think of Make Love Not Porn, which is uniformly, they love it, by the way. We've had nothing but a positive response from people around the world for 10 years. They use words like joyous, celebratory, life-affirming, happy. One young man in a comment on a video said, this was the first time ever that I've masturbated to a video and smiled at myself in the mirror afterwards. And I tell you, a word we hear all the time, Eric, is guilt-free.
Oh, yes.
There is no guilt whatsoever associated with enjoying and experiencing our videos.
I tell you, the work you're doing, the world needs it, because there needs to be an ongoing conversation about sex, about porn, about all of this. And it's just not there. It's not there in the public schools. It's not there in the private schools. There is maybe a sex education class. It's kind of more of a birds and the bees.
Woefully inadequate. Inadequate. Always.
Yes.
Well, I have to say, Eric, I'll just take this opportunity to say to our listeners, I've kept Make Love Not Porn going for 10 years on just $3 million of funding. And that's an extraordinary feat from one investor. I'm now working to raise $20 million to scale Make Love Not Porn, to absolutely, create worldwide awareness of all of this. So if anybody knows any open-minded investors, hook a sister up. It's Cindy at makelovenotporn.com. And I'll tell you why I asked that, Eric, because in the conventional funding world, my biggest obstacle finding investors is the social dynamic I call fear of what other people will think, which operates around sex, unlike any other area. So in venture capital, there are too many partners, too many LPs, they won't touch me with a barge pole. Now, my other challenge is I know that my investors are out there. There are a ton of them. They are impossible to find by the usual means because they all have one thing in common. Your willingness to fund Make Love Not Porn is entirely a function of your personal sexual journey. It's a function of your personal lens on sex and sexuality, driven by your own experience, and I have no way to research and target for that. Especially because sex is the one area where you cannot tell from the outside what anybody thinks on the inside. The people who look like they would totally get it, don't. The people who look like complete prudes do. And so that's why I just put this out wherever I go. If anybody knows anyone open-minded, point them in my direction.
Yes. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about porn and not make it this taboo thing. And the crazy thing about the United States is, porn sites are about 30% of the internet use in the United States, yet it's something that virtually no one really talks about at all. It's still taboo. It's like we're all on these websites doing this, but we're not going to talk about it. Yeah. It's unhealthy.
And I'll tell you what infuriates me, Eric. It's not just every business obstacle I encounter. At Make Love Not Porn, we are banned from advertising and promoting ourselves anywhere. We cannot advertise on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, I ask you, by the way. We can't advertise on Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Google search ads. We can't advertise in traditional media. The MTA here in New York will not allow me to advertise on billboards and the subway. Our mission ultimately is to end rape culture. Yeah. We end rape culture by doing something incredibly simple nobody else is doing. We end rape culture by showing you how wonderful, great consensual communicative sex is in the real world. Our social sex videos role model good sexual values and good sexual behavior. And here's the key part. We make all of that aspirational versus what you see in porn and popular culture. And yet we're banned from advertising. Yeah. And that's a massive business.
I know how you feel because on Facebook and Twitter, I cannot advertise.
No, exactly.
I am trying to help guys addicted to porn, and I am not able to advertise on there.
It's infuriating.
And crazy.
And by the way, Eric, because you'll like this, that is why with that $20 million I'm out to raise, part of that is to build our own ad tech at Make Love Not Porn. And in the first instance, this will operate across our own properties, Make Love Not Porn TV, Make Love Not Porn Academy, the sex education site. But it's designed to prove concept so that I can turn it into an ad exchange for the rest of the internet. Because on our ad tech, people are going to want to watch the ads that we serve because we're going to open up our ad tech to everybody like you and me who is currently banned for advertising. And it's not just us, it's also any female-led sexual health and wellness venture. Menstruation ventures can't advertise, menopause can't, fertility can't. So we're going to open up to everyone who wants to advertise, who can't, and then we're going to allow you, Eric, to advertise on our ad tech any way you want. No censorship, no holds barred. And that's every advertising agency and brand's dream creative brief. Be funny, engaging, entertaining, compelling, without having to blandify and euphemize. So you will be able to, when I raise that money, you'll be able to advertise with us.
Awesome. Elon Musk, I'm a big fan because he wants to bring freedom of speech back to the internet, to be able to freely speak about sex, to freely speak about porn. And, Facebook is so... Sometimes they'll let me run an ad, sometimes they won't, or they'll put it up, then they take it down. It's insanity.
Yeah, infuriating. But by the way, Eric, unfortunately, I do have to go in a moment because I've got...
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Like I said at the beginning, the show is not just about breaking addiction. It's about breaking belief systems. And we have broken belief systems about sex and porn. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And remember, folks, that you are designed for accomplishment, you are engineered for success, and you are endowed with the seeds of greatness.
Join Powerful Eric's free Facebook group, Endeavor to Quit, and take control of your life. Learn more at powerfuleric.com.